I should fuck you with him, pull the phone.
Hello, my Flex family. It's your boy MasterFlex, and welcome to the podcast, episode number 3, people. So we're here today talking about the women's NBA. Now, people need to know the situation we have going to talk about right now. So, before we get into that, you want to check out the episode number 2, the link description down below, and go ahead and check it out. So, let's get into it. The women's NBA. How do we start this? The women's NBA wanted more money like the men's NBA. They want to get millions of dollars in cash because they just want cash, right? So, in my part, that the women's NBA is not doing very well. Let me just be honest here. And the women's NBA is saying that they're saying they're better than men. I hate to say it, but women's basketball team are not that good than the men's basketball team. Let me just be honest with you. If you watch their games, they are absolutely trash. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm just being honest here. I'm being honest that the women's NBA are not. They're doing. They every time you see them try to make a shot, it always be a miss. They trying to be like the men's NBA. What they were doing, shooting half-court shots, trying to do all in this and that, but it never goes in. It always misses, always be an air ball. And let me just be honest here, their games are boring and not exciting and not interested. Now, the men's basketball, like the NBA, that's more exciting and more intense. And it'll make you emotional. Let's see who's going to make it to the playoffs, who's going to make it to the finals. Now, the question is, they're so mad about it, but there's only just one small problem. Is that the women are not selling their product. Now, ever since quarantine happened, let me just be honest, the fans of the NBA are not interested in the women's NBA. I'm not telling them to watch the women's NBA. It's their choice if they want to watch it or not. Most of everybody in the world do not want to watch it, but half of people want to watch the women's NBA. Not all of them, but half of it. But you want to talk about business? Let's talk about business. You gotta get the selling tickets going up. You need to get the merches on. You need to get the jerseys getting up. You need to talk about the product. You need to get it up. But I don't see it. The women's NBA is not selling the product. They're not selling tickets, and it's not exciting at all. But the NBA is more exciting, and that's why jerseys are getting sold out quickly and selling tickets because the fans love the players. But the women's do have some legendary players back in the 90s and 2000s. I'll give them that. And 2010. I'll give them that. But when it comes to men's NBA, there's a lot of legends that never has done before. That men have become legends from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s and 2010s. Let me just be honest here. Can a woman score 100 points? No. Can they get 20 points per game? No. Can they rebound the ball? Okay, they can. They can. Not all of it. Can they get assists per game? Like I'm saying this, well, I'm going to say this as a human being because points is all about points, rebound, and assists built on per game. It's about per game and not being... I mean, the women only made 10 points a game. Not 20 point per game, but only around 10 point to 9 point per game. Let's just be honest here. And let me just say it. Let me just say it right now, because it's all about the fans, and the fans are not interested in women's NBA. That's all I can say right now. And the men's is more interesting. That's why it's not about the fans. It's about the children. The children are excited to watch an NBA, but not the women's NBA. It's all about the men's NBA. And the women's NBA are frustrated and mad that they're not getting attention as the men's NBA player does. Let's just be honest here. Let me just say this. If the women's court can be a little bit can be the same thing as the men's NBA, that would be a little bit interesting. But they have a small court. There's nothing you can do about it. But imagine this though, okay? If the woman has the same court as the men's court, that would be interesting. That's when the fans might be interested just a little bit. That's all. But right now, the fans are not interested in watching the women's NBA. That's all I can say. I mean, the women's NBA always complain about everything. You don't see the ladies football league, which is LFL, which is ladies football league. They never complain about the NFL. No, they never complain about it at all. They do their own thing. They have 8 teams. They try to win championships, and they try to get money. That's it. And I respect the ladies football league because they're doing the best they can. On the other hand, the women's NBA have no respect for them whatsoever because they're being childish because they want money. Okay, let's just be real here. The NBA is trying to help the women's NBA by giving them money, right? Even players are trying to help the women's NBA. But the women's NBA is just butthurt because the fact is that the men makes more money than them, gets their jerseys sold out, and not only that, it's just that the women's NBA, I understand that women's NBA want money, but you only get $112,000 per year when you go to the women's NBA draft. You go from the draft, you become a good player, but you're not showing it as a good player. In my perspective, that I may not be an NBA fan, but I watch the NBA I watch the Chicago Bulls with my father because me and my dad, we play football, but we're also basketball fans. We're both basketball fans because we love our team and we watched every game and how it plays out. My dad was a Bulls fan since Michael Jordan era. The Michael Jordan era in the in the 80s to the 90s, and that's it. Me, I was a Bulls fan from the 2000s to 2010 until now. And let me just be honest here. And let's just be honest here that the women's NBA is not getting that attention anymore. They used to have a lot of attention in the late 90s, okay? They did. In the early 20s, they were doing just fine. Until to 2010, it was a little bit. It got a little bit harder. That fans started slowing down and not watching the women's NBA and not making it more interesting anymore. Because their product back then, their product will always sold out and stuff. I might not notice anything like that, but their product, they were doing everything they can to make women's NBA special. But when time comes, it never comes at all. Because the fans are not watching the women's NBA. They rather watch the NBA they will rather watch NBA like LeBron James, Stephen Curry, KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, what else? Leonard. Most of those guys. The women's NBA never had the best players who can make 30 or 40 points per game, because they know that it will be a lot harder for the women's to get to that level. And they never got to that level because they never have. They do have talent. But it's all about the product, the ticket selling, and all that stuff. The ticket selling is not so good for the women's NBA, but the NBA, they're getting a lot of attention. But right now, that's all I can say right now, because the women's NBA is very, very butthurt and mad because the NBA giving more money. NBA players are getting more money than the women does. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's basically I'm telling the truth. And right now, the women's NBA just need to stop complaining like a child and just do the best you can, okay? That's all I can say. Just do the best you can. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the money, dude. And don't say that you're better than the men's NBA. Don't say that you're better than the NBA players. Trust me when I say this. You're going to regret something that you do not want to do. You're going to have the ultimate regret when I say that. You're going to have the ultimate regret, and that's when the people are not interested in watching the NBA. The women's the fans are not going to watch the women's NBA, and they're not going to be interesting, and the tickets value will go from up to all the way down. Same thing with products. And I hate to say it, but women's NBA, stop complaining, dude. We all know what your situation is. Just stop complaining and just stop complaining and just do the best you can. That's all I can say as a fan of NBA. That's all I can say. But what do you guys think of this situation? Do you guys agree with it or not? Please comment down below. Go check it out. The second episode of the MasterFlex podcast. And I'll see you guys next time. Oh wait, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram if you're new to the channel. Please smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.